Welcome back to the PI Show, viewers. How'd you find that subject tonight, Kathy?
Well, good evening, viewers. Tony, John. Wow, Nadia was very, very good. I thought that was a very interesting subject, and I'm actually quite displeased by a few things that I've heard today.
Or John's comments, or the facts?
No, the facts, actually. It's a bit concerning that...
Aren't they one and the same time?
John, I've had it happen to me, I've had it happen to my wife, so there's been quite a few bungles along the way.
But I think that's what the issue is, that once you actually speak to a number of people, there's a number of people that have been affected by the system or by the process of it, and it is concerning, as I said.
Look, it just highlights there must be a sensational lack of communication by everyone concerned.
Yeah.
Because of a number of smallish type things going wrong, like how can you get the left leg, not the right, A negative, O positive.
In the end, Tony, my personal view is the duty is still upon the hospital and the doctors to provide the right treatment.
Or maybe it's a training issue. You know, it should come back to, at some point in time during people's studies, they should be given some tuition or education on how to best communicate with all sorts of people.
Absolutely. And a lot of the times it's about being a little bit more proactive as opposed to reactive, even from the doctors and the staff that are within the hospitals.
But at the same time, we know the hospitals and doctors do a great job.
Absolutely.
And we want to try and help out the situation.
Look, it's a minority that actually is affected, and that's the unfortunate part. But,
I don't know, that statistic of 10,000 blunders a day worldwide sounds pretty big to me, so...
It is, but look, we can try for it to get better, and again, we commend everyone for doing their best, especially within the medical profession.
I guess now, the message we're sending is, let's improve it. We're not here to smack anyone over the head. We just want the whole thing to improve, because the less muck-ups there are, the better for all of us.
Exactly.
What wise words we have from Tony again this week, viewers. But we need to get on to answering some questions, and I'm going to jump straight into it because we've got quite a few to get through and we don't get time, unfortunately. The first one is, Dear PI Show, I am a teacher at a high school in the Western Districts. About 12 months ago, a gang came into the school and attacked our students. Unfortunately, I found myself in the midst of the riot, surrounded by brawling students. It was a terrifying experience, and I still find myself thinking about the incident every day. Since this time, I have become increasingly anxious and jumpy and do not feel that I am the person I used to be. Now, this is from Lisa in Essendon. That's a pretty traumatic experience, John. What have you got to say about that? What can Lisa do?
Kathy, it sounds like it. Look, Lisa, it depends on how bad your symptoms are, but if you need psychological help, well, firstly, see your general practitioner, see a psychologist, and in that regard, you probably should then lodge a work cover claim. You need a certificate of capacity from your general practitioner to cover. You need to lodge a claim with work cover and your employer to make sure that if anything goes wrong in the future, you can claim work cover entitlements.
And the good thing about lodging a claim, John, is at least you'll be covered for a loss of income and also medical and associated treatment.
And it sounds like in this case, it's probably more likely just medical and like expenses, particularly psychological expenses, which will be paid for by work cover.
And assuming down the track, if her condition deteriorates and she's off work, there's potential for common law damages, John?
Yes, lump sum claims, including an impairment benefit claim and maybe serious injury common law damages claim.
John, impairment benefits are pretty tough because you need a 30% whole person impairment, which is...
Yes, it's very tough. It needs to be a severe psychiatric disturbance. Mr. Kennedy ensured that, didn't he, Tony?
He made it pretty tough.
He made it pretty tough, but in that regard...
But you wouldn't need it for common law. I think the real problem would be if you had a severe behavioural disturbance, which is permanent.
Yes.
I guess you wouldn't need the 30%. It's more an issue of liability, I would have thought.
Under
negligence.
The narrative definition, that's correct, Tony.
Anyway.
And liability, as in the employer, in this case, maybe the Department of Education and the actual school, are required to provide a teacher with a safe workplace.
Or the teachers in general, yep.
Exactly.
Well, we hope that's answered your question. We'll move on to the second one for tonight.
Advice.
Of course, always seek legal advice. You never know. So, We'll go on to the second question. Hi, PI show. Last week I attended my mate's Bucks party at a club in the city. Whilst I was leaving, another patron hit my friend. When I tried to help my friend and break up the fight, one of the bouncers pulled me away and threw me onto the ground. As a result, I injured my left knee quite badly. Am I entitled to anything? This is from Don in Thornbury. Tony, what's your view on this?
I reckon he's got a good claim because when you're breaking people up, you can't use excessive force. You've got to use reasonable force. So it depends on circumstances and facts and what witnesses there are. But the bouncer just can't grab you and just turf you or bash you or whatever he wants to do.
So then would he be suing the nightclub?
You'd probably sue the nightclub and also the company that employs the bouncer and the bouncer himself, or security guard, whatever they're called these days, because they've got different names. What are they called? There's a special name for them now.
I'm not sure what it is, but we'll go with security.
They're not bouncers
officers.
anymore, are they?
No,
It's got a connotation to a bounce means
Well, a
hitting
bouncer,
someone.
they've got a duty of care, and the club has a duty of care to their patrons. They have to, again, provide a safe environment for their patrons. They can't go around causing injury like
And the
this.
good thing about this sort of a claim is that because it's an assault, you don't have to prove the 5%. You can just sue without having the threshold. So that also makes it a bit easier as well. And you can sue for your pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life, any loss of income and medical and associated expenses.
Don, you should seek legal advice in this regard.
And I think his friend was hit as well.
Yes, that's right. Well,
He's got a claim.
He's got a claim, yeah.
So then you both should
two
take
for the
legal
price of one.
advice.
Kathy, is this one of the clubs that you frequent, by the way?
I'm not
No,
sure which
she
club
doesn't.
it is, but no, look, I don't get out as much given that I work a lot. So, but I'll move on to the next question. I don't attend any clubs that actually cause fights.
Okay.
I do more restaurants these days, John. So I'll go on
Kathy
to
breaks them up.
our last. That's right, I break them up, but I don't get injured. We'll go on to our last question. It's a High PI show. Recently, I injured my right thumb whilst I was working, but when I lodged a work cover claim, the VWA, which is the Victorian Work Cover Authority, rejected my claim. Is there anything else I can do to get compensation? And this is Charlie from St Albans. John, this one I'll throw to you. Rejection of claim.
The process is the claim's been lodged. It's been rejected. Michelle, you need to refer this now to what's called the Accident Compensation Conciliation Service.
Quickly.
Within 60 days.
Don't sit on it.
That's within 60 days with the
Within 60
rejection letter.
days. Otherwise, technically, you're not able to challenge it. But of course, you get an extension of time depending on the circumstances.
If you know the reason why it's been rejected, you could work out whether you can go to a panel or go to court. There's
Exactly.
a lot of ways to skin a
But
cat
you
in this
need to
case.
seek legal advice in that regard.
It's coming towards the
Absolutely.
end of the show, guys.
It
We're going to
is.
have to wrap it up. Do you want
Look,
to give some details about
I
websites?
will. Unfortunately, we didn't get through all the questions we wanted to tonight either, but please keep writing in and visit us for prior shows as well at www.thepishow.com, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you,
viewers.
Tony.
Stay
Thanks,
safe.
John.
Kathy,
Good night.
thank you, viewers.
Good night.